Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have you and introduce you to the USS team. But before we get started with that, I'm just going to give a little brief overview of our STEP program. We have been running our STEP program throughout summer, and this is just an awesome opportunity to make sure that you're prepared and well connected to resources as you prepare to come into UCSD. So just a quick overview. The STEP program has a couple different components. One of those is our transfer talks, which you are currently attending today. Transfer talks are an awesome way to find out information about a variety of different topics. They usually are webinar style talks. They're different like workshops related to parking and transportation, meeting different resource centers on campus, but really just a good opportunity to learn about what we have going on and things to keep in mind as you prepare to start. So we also have our Transfers Connect, which is our opportunity to have you all connect more with fellow transfer students. We have both in-person and online Transfer Connect sessions, and we have one coming up, I believe, next week. We have an in-person session, so be sure to check that out and get registered to attend because they're really fun, and it's an awesome way to meet friends and meet people prior to coming to UCSD this fall, which is coming up. Super excited. But these Transfer Connects really focus on ways to get you more connected, how to transition into UCSD effectively, navigating web registration and things like that. So Transfers Connect are really a great opportunity to meet fellow transfers. Looking ahead, we have some Transfers Connects and different opportunities to get more involved. So we will be working with transfers with dependents. That is a really cool opportunity in partnership with the Students with Dependents coordinator, who is awesome and really good at supporting students who have dependents, whether that be children or family members. So definitely look out for that. We also have a Transfers Connect who is here to help. So that is really focused on kind of wellness and making sure you know, what resources are available for you in terms of like mental health and different health services as well. And last but not least, we have our Getting to and Around UCSD talk, which is really about transportation, kind of maps and what's around campus. Really helpful because learning a new environment and campus can be tricky. So we have set that up to make sure that you know what resources are available in terms of maps, public transportation, and things like that. And then next, we have our Research and Involvement series, which is awesome. It is hosted by our Research and Involvement coordinator, Elizabeth, who is an amazing resource. She is so well connected to different people across campus, helping you get involved in internships, research opportunities, and all kinds of things. So she has some really great topics around preparing resumes, getting support, knowing how to find a faculty mentor and things like that. So definitely recommend checking those out if you're wanting to hit the ground running in terms of involvement in research. Great opportunity there. And then we also have our Transfer Success series, which will be hosted by me. My name is Allie. I am the Transfer Retention Specialist at the Transfer Hub, and I really focus on the academic transition, preparing for the quarter system. I was a transfer student myself, and so I know that it can be a little bit of an adjustment, but I'm really excited to kick off that series in a couple weeks to get you all prepared, find resources for how to adjust, go to office hours early on, and just feel prepared for that change of pacing if you're coming from a semester system. But I'll also be covering topics offered by our current transfers, so because they know best of all what is the latest and greatest when it comes to preparing for the quarter. So really excited about kicking off that series soon. And then I have the pleasure of introducing Undocumented Student Services, and they will be giving an amazing presentation today about their resources, and overall, they're just awesome people to know. And so I'm really excited to hear from them. And yeah, and then we also have our STEP recordings. This session will be recorded, as well as all of our other ones have been recorded throughout the summer. And so feel free to check out our recap page to review any previous sessions or talks that we've done prior. But thank you for being here. And with that, I will pass it over to our undocumented student services staff members.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ellie. Can you all see the screen well?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. For those who don't know me, my name is Diane Castaneda Munoz, and I am the program manager for Undocumented Student Services. This is our team. So just to get started, we really want to introduce you all to our team and kind of like who we are on campus, and hopefully share with you all some resources that you all can use while you transfer over to UCSD. And we hope a lot of the information that we share with you all today is going to allow you to navigate being a new student here at UCSD, but also navigate what it means to be undocumented, if that is an identity that you identify with, or if you are a US citizen but might have loved ones who are undocumented, and navigating that experience as well. So this is our team. We're small but mighty. And actually, fun fact, we are one of the 4 programs under student success programs that is overseen by Juanita Razo-Dueñas. And the Transfer Hub is actually one of those programs that are under this umbrella. So we consider the Transfer Hub our sister program. So the Transfer Hub works really closely with us. So if there's any questions that arise, you might not be sure who to ask in our team, you can always tap into the transfer team and they can connect you with us and get that support for you. So like I said, Juanita Razo-Dueñas, she's our director, and she oversees all the student success programs. And then you have myself, who oversees the day-to-day operations of the space. And I also do one-on-one meetings with students. So if you ever have any issues that arise, you can always make an appointment with me to meet one-on-one. And I will pass it over to Priscilla, the program coordinator.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Priscilla Rodriguez, and I am the program coordinator at Undocumented Student Services. And so I primarily oversee the professional development aspects of our programming. So primarily the PACE Fellowship Program, which is a financial and mentorship and hands-on learning opportunity for our students all around, as well as any of the other professional development programming that we do for our students that are open to larger communities around UC San Diego. So students also meet with me to consult for life after college, independent contracting, as well as graduation help afterwards. And then I'll let Diane introduce the rest of our team.
Yeah, so in addition to providing educational support for our students, we also provide immigration legal services. So we are one of the only campuses in San Diego that actually provide this. We have a full-time immigration attorney who is able to provide legal support for not just undocumented students, but for any student on campus who needs immigration services. So Andres Lemens, he's our full-time immigration attorney, and then we have our paralegal, Angelica Escobar, who also provides legal support like consultations, and is Andres's right hand with doing both cases. In addition to providing legal support, Angelica also does Know Your Right workshops, Know Your Rights workshops with me and Priscilla. So we have a variety of workshops that we do virtually or in person throughout the year to just inform our students about their rights so they can feel empowered when navigating any legal crisis that may occur. But that's our team. So we want to just give you an overview of what the agenda is going to be. So we're going to provide you an overview of all of our services and programs. And if there's any program that you learn about or service that you think you qualify for or would benefit from, please go to our website and make an appointment with us so we can support you in applying to the program or receiving the service. We also will provide you all with some Know Your Rights resources. So again, you can feel empowered as we're navigating a very unique time in the political system when it comes to being an undocumented person or for someone from an immigrant background. And then also additional resources that you can use while you're a student at UCSD as well as off campus. And then lastly, we will give you all our contact information and ways that you can stay connected with us after this workshop. Okay, so this term undocumented is in our title, but what does that actually mean, right? The term undocumented is really broad and encompasses various groups of immigration statuses. So someone who is undocumented could be someone who entered without inspection. Someone who's undocumented could be someone who entered with legal status but overstayed. So that could be someone who entered with a tourist visa, which is a common visa, and individuals come to visit the country and then they overstayed, right? For various reasons. And then someone who is undocumented could have or previously had deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, which is a program that was announced by the Obama administration. And it allowed students who were undocumented, not just students, anyone who was undocumented, to get deferred action for childhood arrivals, which essentially gave them relief from deportation and a valid social security number to be able to work here in the US. Someone who's undocumented could also be currently in the process of legalizing. So even though they're in the process of either becoming a permanent resident or getting some sort of relief, their current status is still undocumented. So they're waiting, they're in a waiting period. And it could also just be anyone who's a vulnerable immigrant. So now that we kind of identified who's undocumented, essentially we are here and on this campus and created to support undocumented students. So our commitment is to support undocumented students through a holistic approach that encompasses personal guidance, immigration legal services, community building, partnerships, and referrals. We have a variety of programs and services that are designed to help students overcome the obstacles that might arise because of their immigration status, because we want to make sure that we're able to help them face those barriers so they can be successful here at UCST and ultimately graduate. So one of the two of the services that we provide is guidance consultations and immigration legal services. So we're going to kind of break down what each of these mean. So the guidance consultations are led by myself and Priscilla. So we meet with students one-on-one and are able to have a space where we can learn a little bit about them and they can share information about their immigration status in a confidential way. And we are always doing our best to stay up to date about policies and different things that will help our students overcome any barrier that they may face because of their immigration status. And if we don't know how to support you, that's when we'll tap into our community partners to get referrals or try to find partnerships to be able to support you. And then we also do work with staff and faculty together in partnership to see ways that we could support students. For example, if a student identifies himself to a professor and is like, I'm undocumented, can you support me? Professors will tap into us and email us and kind of bridge that support. So we also work closely with staff and faculty on our campus. The second service that we provide is our immigration legal services. So as I shared earlier, this is led by our full-time immigration attorney, Andres, and our paralegal, Angelica. And essentially, they are able to provide you a consultation to see if there's an opportunity for you to fix your status, or if you already kind of have an idea of an opportunity to help you with immigration, we'll sit down with you and kind of walk through that. Well, they won't walk through that and just consult and see if there's an opportunity there. If there is an opportunity to represent you, we will do that free of cost. So both the consultation and the representation is completely free. And like we said earlier, this is not just a legal service that we provide to undocumented students. It's for anyone who needs immigration support. So in addition to supporting our students, we also support our students' immediate family members. So who we identify as immediate family members are siblings, parents, and legal partners. So someone who's married, for example, to an undocumented person and is trying to fix their status, we can support that individual for free. So if you think you could benefit from any of these services, please reach out to us or go to our website and make an appointment to take advantage of this. And we do want to make a small disclaimer. Unfortunately, the immigration services that we do provide are provided by attorneys who work within the UC Center, which is UC Immigrant Legal Services. And they typically do not provide legal services or representation for employment-based visas or student visas. So students who have F1 or J1 visas, it falls out of their expertise. So unfortunately, they cannot provide that type of immigration work. If you want to learn a little bit more about the services that USIM can or cannot do, or have any commonly asked questions, you can review this document and learn a little bit more. And I believe Priscilla is going to be putting that information in. Okay, and then these are our programs. So we have a variety of programs that we run here at USS, but these are our flagship programs. So the programs that most likely will always be in our space every academic year. So the first one is the Yes Food program, which is an alternative to the CalFresh program. So unfortunately, undocumented students do not qualify for CalFresh. So if they apply, they will be denied or their application will just not process. So If you're an undocumented student and you're in need of food or like you're really tight on money, this is a great program for you because essentially what it is you submit an application on our website and we ask you a variety of food insecurity questions. And based on the way that you answer it, and if you provide all the documents to prove eligibility, you can get awarded up between $50 to $200 a month in food assistance that is given to you in a gift card. We have a variety of vendors that you can choose the gift card is to. It could be grocery stores, restaurants, and food delivery services. So yeah, this is a really great opportunity for students, again, who are kind of tight on money and need that extra support financially. The second program that we have is the Equity Grant. So the grant covers up to $500 of professional development activities, such as conference registration fees and graduate school preparation for undocumented students. So we have students on the graduate level, for example, that are doing research and want to present that research at a conference. A lot of the times those conferences have a really expensive conference fee registration fee that some of our students can't afford. So they're able to apply to this grant to be able to have us pay for that conference fee registration. Our undergrads typically use this grant to get ready for graduate school. So let's say they're going to law school and they need to prepare for the LSAT. The LSAT is a pretty extensive test that you have to prepare for heavily. So buying books can be expensive for the LSAT, even taking a prep course can be expensive. So again, our students can apply for this grant and get that paid for. And then last but not least, we have the PACE Scholarship Program. And Priscilla will dive into a little bit more of what that program looks like, but a quick overview is the program provides undocumented students opportunities to participate in an experiential learning opportunity that incorporates mentorship, professional and personal development, while also possibly getting some sort of financial support. So this program was created because most of our undocumented students today do not have work authorization. So they're not able to take the typical route of applying to internships through Handshake or applying to jobs outside of campus because they don't have work authorization. So this fellowship allows our students to do something on campus that makes them learn while doing hands-on learning or doing research with the campus department, and in return they get a scholarship to compensate for their time and commitment. So Lucila's gonna kind of dive in a little bit more to what the PACE Scholarship Program is.
Yes. So this is an exciting year. So this year, PACE is actually going to be offering a true track system. So the true track system was essentially developed because part of our funds are associated with the class component, meaning that students would have to enroll and participate in a class. However, that does have obstacles for students, given that it is a quarter system and students already, might have very heavy course loads, especially if they're in some particular STEM fields, their majors just require a lot more class focus. And so, the track 2 option came out of feedback from students, who are still really wanting to participate in an experiential learning opportunity, They really wanted to have those hands-on learning, working with campus partners and getting that mentorship along with the financial aid, but just really did not have the capacity, to enroll within a class. So that's again how we came up with the 2-track system. So for this upcoming year, we're going to have the 2 tracks. Track 1 is going to be the one that focuses on the experiential learning opportunity, where students will still get that hands-on learning environment, with a mentor. But they will also enroll in a class that will then focus on professional development skills. So within that class frame, we're going to be thinking about how do you do a cover letter, How do you write a resume? Thinking about what are the next steps after graduation, Whether that's going to be graduate school, independent contracting, or entering the job market, So the class is designed to specifically help the student think about steps after they graduate the university. The second track is mostly, the student is focusing on the experiential learning opportunity. So they're still going to have to enroll in the class, but they will not be participating within that class component of professional development. So the focus of that second track is just where the students are really being able to, dive deep, be a part of their experiential learning communities, where they are just kind of developing, picking up, working on those soft skills or skills that are associated with their majors. To kind of help build their resume profile. So those are the 2 tracks, that we're going to be offering for students. Each of them does have a distinct financial scholarship attached to it. Track 1 is $7,200. And then track 2 is $4,500. And the financial distinction, right, is because the track 1 students are doing the additional work of being a part of that class. So going to class, doing all of the participation, right, that is associated with that first track. So that's why there's that scholarship distinction. So the deadline to apply is coming up. So we do have a job form link there if you're interested, but before doing that, right, I really do recommend that you reach out to me, and my email is listed here below. You can also make an appointment with me on our website, which we'll have at the end of the presentation. Right, but really come and talk to me if you're really interested or thinking about doing the PACE Fellowship program, and we can talk, right, which track might be best for you, as well as which ELO would be a good fit. So on our website, we also have a directory of experiential learning opportunities, ELO for short, and I can help you walk through that list to see which opportunity on campus might be a good fit if you're thinking about applying and going through that process collectively.
And we see some questions coming in. We can answer all the questions. Feel free to add questions as we're going through this presentation, and we'll answer them at the end. We'll answer those questions at the end.
Thank you, Diane. Next slide, sorry. So as well as the PACE Fellowship Program, which is our one of our key flagship programs, we also offer other programmings and events throughout the academic year, right? So we have professional development workshops, right? So we try to collaborate with different campus partners like the Career Center on campus, right, to facilitate larger conversations for all students on campus, not just our USS or our PACE fellows. So thinking again about stuff after graduate school, undergrad, so thinking about applying to graduate school or becoming an entrepreneur, as well as LinkedIn workshops. How do you create a LinkedIn? How do you start to begin to network LinkedIn if that's something that you want to do for the next academic year? We've also done how to interview 101. What are some tips for interviewing? So that students can kind of prepare as they're thinking about their next steps after college. Last year, we also did what is known as Wellness Wednesdays, and this was a partnership with Counseling and Psychological Services on campus. And these are just days, that we try to work with the CAPS liaison to bring them into our space and offer usually an arts and crafts workshop to allow students to kind of de-stress and decompose from life, but we'll touch upon this a little bit later in the presentation as well. We also offer Undocumented graduation, so this is a really key and heartfelt moment for our students on campus and their families. This is where we get to celebrate, current undergrads and also graduate students who want to participate in the graduation ceremony. It's a very intimate, wholesome celebration that we cherish for students and their families. So this is something that we consistently hold year-round for every year for our students. And then, we also just have any other types of programming that we do that come up depending on students' need or maybe other collaborations with different campus partners. We tend to usually always try to figure out 1 or 2 different types of events that we can do per quarter to support community sustainability with our campus partners across the university. Next slide. And so we also really want to highlight our space, So we are located in the Student Service Building, which you might not be familiar with, but it's a pretty central location on campus. And we're located on the 5th floor of the Student Service Building. And so this is a relatively still new space for us. We moved to this new space about 2 years ago. So this will be the start of the 3rd year that we're in the space. And it's a big improvement. It's much larger than what we previously had, so we're really excited, and we've been able to make it a really welcoming and a very homey space for the students that are in the space. So the space offers, there's a study space, there's a kitchen where students can come in into our food pantry, and pick up snacks, to get them over until their next meal. We also try to maintain that pantry regularly stocked, with things to make sandwiches, frozen items that students can kind of eat so that they can have some type of sustenance, so while they're studying and working, and within our space. And that is open to all students regardless, all students on campus regardless of immigration status. As we have here, we have the patio. We also offer fruit pinching, 10 pages per student per day. We also have free school supplies and free personal care items, and you'll be able to see those once you're in that space. And then, right, we just have a nice space for our pro staff offices. So if you're ever meeting us in person, this is the location that you'll be meeting with us. And then we also want to highlight that we've added, as of last year, the Food Recovery Network Pantry, which we will hopefully continue up this upcoming year. It's different from our food pantry in the kitchen. This is something that we work with the Basic Needs Hub to support, and it's just a pantry where students can come in and grab items as they need. And we have anything in there from like cans of beans to cereal boxes to sports drinks. It's whatever is available at that time. And that's also, again, a service that we have in our specific space. Diane, if you want to change.
Sorry, I'm having a hard time finding the mask.
You're good.
Okay.
So yeah. Oh, sorry, go.
Oh, go ahead.
So we also have Know Your Rights cards. So right, these are cards that we have for our space, specifically the red cards by Immigration Legal Resource Centers. So these are the cards that we prioritize for our non-students and community members to have. You can pick them up from our space. We still have those, and we have them in a variety of languages. So depending on what you might need, we'll have those available. We also have Know Your Rights by the UC Immigration Legal Services. So these are the ones, right, that our legal team from the UC system has vetted and created, right, for our specific students. So we encourage our students to utilize these cards for emergencies, because it also has the phone number of our specific attorney on this. And then we have the Know Your Rights. So right in the beginning of this academic year, we created a Know Your Rights for undocumented mixed status students at UC San Diego. So this is something that we have already presented and recorded. Students are more than welcome, right? We encourage incoming students as well as friends, family, and community members to be able to watch this. It provides some general information about right, knowing your rights within this current political climate. You do have to use your DUOS sign-on. So you have to make sure, right, that you have an established UC San Diego email account and that you're kind of on that that VPIN to ensure that you're able to access that recording. Otherwise, you won't be able to access it. And then I'll pass it back to Diane.
Thank you. So I know that was a lot of information, but we do hope that, you know, some of the programs and services that we shared with you all, maybe one of them you'll qualify for, will need. So hopefully you can reach out to us and take advantage of any of that. But we also really want to remind students who are undocumented of some of the things that are really important for you all to know, regardless if you yourself are undocumented or have undocumented family members. We really want to highlight these three things. The first one is AB 540 and the California Dream Act remain in effect. We know that because of everything going on with the political climate, a lot of students are scared of if certain policies are going to continue or if they're going to be able to continue applying for certain things that they're currently benefiting from. As of today, in-state tuition, known as AB 540, is still in effect and it actually expanded a few years ago. So if you previously did not qualify for AB 540 because you did not have 3 years of a California high school attained, then you actually, as long as you had 1 year in elementary school, middle school, or high school, and then transferred over to a California community college and actually graduated from there, you could then transfer over to UC and count those 2 years at a community college and that 1 year in the California high school, elementary school, middle school, count all those three combined, and then be able to transfer over to UC and pay in-state tuition at a UC. So if you have any questions about that, or you think, oh, maybe I do qualify for AB 540 now, you can reach out to us and we can help you with that process and connect you with the residency deputies to ensure that you are eligible for that. The second thing that we really want to make sure students know is the California Dream Act is still in place, and the California Student Aid Commission actually has made a lot of statements that they're going to continue protecting the student information of the students that they have here in California, and are going to do their best to do that. So we really encourage students to continue applying for both of these benefits, because a combination of these two things really allow undocumented students to be able to attain higher education, because it's really expensive without them. So If you haven't already submitted your applications for either of these and you're undocumented, feel free to reach out to us and we can help you with that process. The second thing that we want to share with you all is scholarships. So scholarships are available, not just here in the UC system or at UCSD, but they're available nationwide. So Immigrants Rising is a really incredible nonprofit that their mission is to support undocumented students and those from undocumented backgrounds here in California. So they created a list of national scholarships and fellowships that don't require proof of citizenship. So check those out, and if you qualify for any of them, feel free to apply. And they do a really good job of keeping them updated. So you very rarely will ever see a link that doesn't work. And then last but not least, you're not alone. So on-campus support exists. So we will always be a space on campus to make you feel safe and make sure that the information that you share with us is confidential. And we're always trying our best to provide you all with resources and workshops that will benefit you and make sure that you feel successful here at UCSD and also feel supported. So please, regardless of what's happening outside, please know that you will always have a safe space to reach out to here at USS. And then we also want to share with you all some mental health resources on campus. This workshop alone can feel overwhelming if you're undocumented. It can be a lot of information, even though it's useful. Just talking about your status can feel triggering and uncomfortable. So we want to recognize that and validate that. It's not always easy to talk about your status, and we want to just like kind of normalize that and hopefully support you all in that process. But also just know that you also have different people to tap into outside of us that can support you with that. So the Counseling Psychological Services, also known as CAPS, is a service here on our campus that provides mental health resources and therapy for our students who are at UCSD. So if you ever want to schedule an appointment, you can call that number at the top to schedule an appointment. If you ever have an urgent or crisis counseling that is needed, you can call that number and then press option 2 to speak with the counselor. We know that it could also feel a little re-triggering if the counselor or therapist that you're talking to doesn't really understand what it means to be undocumented or a child of immigrants, and having to explain that to your therapist can feel even worse. You might be walking out like, that was exhausting. I didn't really enjoy that. That didn't help me. So we've actually worked really closely with CAPS to kind of create a list of counselors that we recommend that understand that background, that will be able to support you a bit better because they have that cultural competency. So feel free to take a picture of this. So if you ever do call CAPS, you can actually ask to be assigned one of these individuals and they will be able to support you. The second option that we want to kind of highlight is Triton Core. So Triton Core is a bit of a newer resource that we have here on our campus, but they essentially can be deployed for mental health check-ins, so wellness check-ins or behavioral crises. So it could be, for example, like let's say that you're worried about your friend. You haven't really seen them leave their house, their dorm, and you're concerned if they're eating or their well-being. You can call Triton Core to ask for a wellness check for your friend. Or let's say you're not doing very well and you really want someone to check in on you and just see if you want to ask someone for help, right? You can call Triton Core also and they can check in on you and see how things are going. We do really want to emphasize in this workshop that Campus Police and Triton Core are here to keep you safe and protected. And we really don't want students to ever hesitate on reaching out to Campus Police or Triton Core because of their immigration status. We know because of like headlines and things that are happening in the news, there might be fear in calling the police. There might be fear in calling someone like Triton Core because, okay, are they going to call the police on me or something like that? Just know that their priority and their main focus is not your immigration status. That is not their job. They're not ICE, right? So Triton Core and police are really here to make sure you're safe. So please, 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 today, next quarter, anytime that you're at UCSD, there is any crisis or something that's making you feel unsafe or other people unsafe, please don't hesitate to call the police because of your immigration status. And then the next thing that we want to share is an event that we do every Wednesday during the academic year, every Wednesday of even weeks, in partnership with our Counseling Psychological Services called Wellness Wednesdays. So this is an activity that we do where we just do various activities that are distressful, relaxing, and really allow us to be creative. So we usually do it with our CAPS liaison, who used to be Laura Bermudez. She just graduated. We're super excited for her. So we're going to be getting a new CAPS liaison, but she would just come and just provide an opportunity for students to kind of just wind down. A lot of our students are always focused on homework and doing things for their degrees. So it's just an hour to just hang out with people and, you know, do like slime or mug painting, and it's really fun. So if you can join us, we highly recommend joining us to do that.
And then we also wanted to give you all some off-campus resources, right? And so again, coming back to Immigrants Rising, a fantastic nonprofit organization here that supports immigrants communities in the state of California. They also offer mental health services for students who are enrolled within any of the four-year universities, the state colleges or the community colleges, or just a private institution in the state of California, right? The ages range from 18 to 45. So right, if we're just really not comfortable, maybe tapping into some of the resources, right, for mental health on campus, right, just know that there is something for students off campus. And this is a really accredited, great program and services for immigrants communities, right, if they're in need of mental health services. And then, right, we're wrapping up here in terms of the information that we have for you all during this presentation. So we just want to remind you all to connect with us, right? So here we have obviously our webpage. So anything, all the things that we talked about today, you'll find on our webpage, right? It's all kind of linked under program services, how to make appointments with us. All that information is there, as well as the Know Your Rights recording, right, that we have. It's on our legal updates page. And so follow us, right? Look at our website there, as well as our Instagram. It's one of the easiest ways. We really encourage students to utilize or follow us on Instagram, because we post everything that we do on that specific Instagram page. So it's a great way to kind of keep up to date with anything that we have in terms of programming services, updates that we have for students and staff. And then we also want to point you all to the UC Immigration Legal Services Center. So we've attached, again, their website, as well as their email and Instagram post, right? So again, follow them. It's one of the easiest ways that you can also stay up to date when it comes to immigration legal updates that are affecting, right, communities across the nation, but also specifically at the UCs. So thank you. Right, thank you all for coming this afternoon to hear about what Undocumented Students has to offer for students, faculty and staff across all personnel. So we have our email, and then we have Diane's email as well. We have the general email, so the undoc@ucsandiego.edu. This is if you have general inquiries, right? You're more than welcome to send an email for that one. We have, again, our website here, and then we also encourage students to sign up to our newsletter. It's a great way, right, to kind of stay informed in terms of any updates, any programming, anything that we're doing. It's one of the additional ways that you can kind of stay in the loop for anything that we have to offer to our students. And thank you. So I believe we have a few questions. I'm just going to read them and see which ones I'll be able to address. And then I'm assuming, Diane, you will be doing the same.
Yeah, I could take on the first one. So what is DACA? So DACA stands for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and it's a program that was launched during the 2012 by President Barack Obama and his administration, that essentially allows undocumented people who meet a certain eligibility requirements to be able to receive relief from deportation for 2 years, as well as a social security number that would allow them to have work on it. So it's people who have DACA are able to currently renew. The Trump administration back in 2018 did a lawsuit of the DACA program, and because of that, as of today, no new applicants are eligible for DACA. So if DACA, and also if DACA reopens even today for first-time applicants, they cannot apply. Someone that would have graduated this year from high school would not qualify, because they would not be able to prove that they've been in the US since 2008, because you have to prove that you've been living in the United States since 2008. And most of our students who have graduated from high school in 2025, but essentially have aged out of the program as of the eligibilities today. So if you want to learn more about what the DACA program is, you can reach out to us. But to answer your question, can you apply to DACA right now? If you're a first-time applicant, you cannot apply because no new applicants are being accepted. Well, you can apply, but your application will just be pending and nothing will happen with it, and you may lose your money because there is an application fee for it.
Then the following questions seem to be related to PACE, the PACE Fellowship Program, so I will go ahead and answer those. How can we decide which track to apply? So usually that's a good conversation to have with me. So I encourage students, right, to make an appointment with me and we can kind of see what is going to work best for you, right? The biggest difference between the track 1 and track 2 is obviously the class component. So it just depends, right, on how much you're taking on already, right? Do you already have a pretty heavy course load? Are you maybe taking care of some personal responsibilities, right, that you also have to kind of keep track of in terms of your schedule? So it's usually just a conversation to assess what your capabilities are, given that the track 1 is for the whole academic year. But again, reach out to me and I can help you figure that out. Can all transfers apply? So this is, right, the PACE Fellowship Program is for students who have a California Dream Act on file or have AB 540 status, right? And so if you meet those parameters as well as completing the application program, right, or the application process, right, we will review your application to ensure that all the materials are met and then taking the next steps to see, right, about enrolling and applying for the PACE Fellowship Program. And then
we'll answer. Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I was just saying, I think some students don't know what California Dream Act is or AB 540. So I did add a link from the financial aid office that kind of explains what the California Dream Act is. So then you can all learn the difference between that and FAFSA.
Thank you, Diane. And then will the scholarship affect my financial aid? It can, right? It depends on what your financial aid package looks like. Our scholarship is delivered through financial aid, right? So it will overall impact the overall amount of what you can get down the line. So it will to some degree impact your financial aid after you apply, but not before. And then when is the track 1 class taking place? So we're still in the midst of trying to figure that out, right? We need to figure out a class and space time, which is difficult for us since we are not associated with a class specifically. So finding a designated class is difficult. But again, we will definitely let students know as soon as we know, we send that information out so that students are able to kind of block that time off if they're going to be in the track 1 program. And then the last question is if I want to do the first track, will the class included on they're added to units to WebBridge? So yes, you'll be able to enroll. You'll have to enroll in that class through WebBridge, and we are hoping to have the class be 2 units. Last year it was 4, which was a lot. It added a lot of stress to students, so we are hoping to knock it back down to 2, so that right students can kind of juggle as much as they need to within their own academic requirements. And I hope I was able to answer most of the questions with the PACE concerns, but if you have anything else, right, you're more than welcome to make an appointment with me using our website to do so, or send me an email. I'm available either way. Is a track 1 too heavy in course load terms? So what we try to do with the PACE Fellowship Program, because we do have to have the academic component, the course attached to it, is that, right, that most of the work that is a part of that class, because there does need to be some deliverables because it is an academic course, so there needs to be something that students essentially turn in. We try to have the majority of that work that's associated with that class actually occur within the class time. So there's nothing that is happening right kind of outside as much as possible. So we are trying to be aware, right, that because it is for a pass, no pass, that much of the work that students have to do to participate in that program, right, is occurring within that slotted time of the class. Great question. Okay, I think there are no more other questions.
Very good. But yeah, that wraps everything up. Thank you so much, USS, for coming and sharing these amazing resources. We look forward to more partnerships, and yeah, we're just really excited to kick off the fall, and just grateful for all the work that you do to support all of our transfer students and beyond. But yeah.
Of course. Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.